good evening, and welcome to tonight's second broadcast of Chalk Talk with Brad Lambert. Glad to have you along tonight. Thanks for coming out. We're live at the Harris Alumni Center on the campus of UNC Charlotte. I was asking that question when I was over at the table because I'm so afraid I'm going to mess up. You know, when I grew up, because I'm older than you, you're just a pup.
Not much.
Okay, but it was UNCC, and then it was UNC Charlotte. And now it's Charlotte 49ers, so I asked the table over here. I had, I think, 3 alumni, and I said, what's the proper one? And, of course, the response I got was, it depends on when you graduated, because it's changed over the years. I said, so that means if I slip up and call it something different every time, I can't offend anybody. They said, no, but I think now we kind of go by the Charlotte 49ers. That's kind of from the athletic standpoint, so that's what we'll do. I'm joined here on stage with Coach Brad Lambert, and Coach and I have spent some time over the weeks being a call-in. I've let him off the hook now and picked up Coach Alan Majors on Thursday.
That's right.
And let him off just a little bit. But I've almost got him groomed to where he can do this. I think you'll be okay.
You're working on me.
I'm working on you hard. I think you'll be okay. But it's a great opportunity for us to be here. We're excited to be a part of this, to be associated with the Charlotte 49ers and everything that they've got going on. And we're just very excited to be part of it. But, Coach, you know, it's tough right now, as you were saying before we went on the air. You can't talk about kids.
That's right.
You remind me that every time we talk before we go on the air. He'll say,
No
don't you tell me about somebody, and don't we can't talk about this, can't talk about that. But that time is just around the corner. And when it gets to be that time, it's going to be a very exciting time here for the Charlotte 49ers.
It is, and, you know, that time's coming up for us right after Thanksgiving. We'll be on the road full-time and in homes and in schools talking to kids and really letting them get to know us and what we're all about. So that's a critical time for us. And you know, it's a fun time for us because that's what we love doing is going out. And one of the blessings of this job is you get to meet so many different people and sit in so many different homes in different parts of the country. And that's what we love to do, and all of our coaches are good at it. It's one of the things that's your lifeblood is bringing guys in and bringing the right guys. So it's an exciting time for us to think about. And then once we get to signing day, you know, once we can get the kids signed, get their faxes in, and we can actually talk about them publicly, you know, that's going to be a lot of fun. And that first class is, you know, we've been selling that hard, you know, talking to guys about
The record setters.
Exactly. You know, every time you throw a pass, that's a record. So, you know, it's going to be it's fun to think about that class and who that's going to be.
Well, it's very important that we get somebody in here soon with Coach Mullen so he's got somebody to play with before he drives everybody else crazy.
No question. We're thinking about sending him over to baseball. He can run their off-season drills over there.
Yeah, that would be good. Give him something to do because
Yeah.
he has wound up a ball of energy. He definitely needs something to do. Coach Tall, he's kind of mellowed out a little bit, and he can wait. But, you know, Coach Mullen, he's almost like a kid at Christmas. He can't wait till that time comes. And I know you're excited. I mean, it's a huge thing. Just like John was talking about when he was a student, you know, if we only had football and all the people that will finally see that dream realized here at the college, and with the NFL being in town, you know, I really think this program and the when I say the program, I'm talking about the football program itself. It's really going to take off and grow because it's something I think this city will embrace.
Yeah, no question. The response has been great, whether we're out in the community doing events or you know, recruiting in high schools. The reception's been good, and people are excited about us starting football. So, you know, we're excited about it. Part of our problem's been, you know, we only get 42 days in the fall to recruit, and normally, you know, you have your season. One of the hardest things we do in coaching is recruiting during the season. I mean, that's a hard thing to do when you're getting ready for your opponent and you're trying to recruit guys. And so for us, we've had 42 days and we've used them all.
Because you had nothing else to do.
Exactly. And so now you're kind of in that lull where, you know, you just pinned up and ready to go, and hopefully when they let us out, we'll go do some good things.
When we first started talking and we were talking about recruiting, one of the things that he had to do was bring me up to speed because when I was being recruited, and this is in the late 70s, everything was on the table. I mean, there was somebody at practice every day, somebody on the phone every day. You could go watch ball games all you wanted to at your expense. They could give you tickets, but then you had one official visit. Yeah. But you didn't have the things that you've got now. The window has gotten so small.
Yeah, and there are legendary stories out there about guys like you getting hit out in hotels, and so no one else can get to you. No. And all those stories they get a little bigger on down the line. But no, it's really changed. And frustrating part for us is a lot of our rules are designed to keep us apart. And yet these guys are trying to make a decision that affects the rest of their life. And the way you do that is get to know somebody. So that's why we try to get kids on campus. And, this period coming up will be really critical for us to get in their homes because they're trying to get to know us. We're trying to get to know them. And it's a big decision for a kid. There's no question.
We talked about it last time. And for those that weren't here last time, I'll ask the question again. Who's the most important part, mom or dad, when you get into the home?
Well, that's the trick is figuring that out. On
one
average,
of them's got the kid's ear.
On average, generally it's mom, but there are times. I always tell the William Witherspoon story. We were recruiting him out of Florida. He was at Panama City, and he was a Player of the Year in the state of Florida. And we were in a huge battle with Florida to get him to come to the University of Georgia. And everybody thought mom was the real key. And Coach Atkins was recruiting him, and we all got involved. He played linebacker for me, and really the dad was the key. And Coach Atkins had the dad, and nobody really talked to dad. Everybody was with mom and really thought that was the deal. And in the end, he picked Georgia, and I think a big part of it was the dad. He was real influential. So that's a key is figuring out who's really pulling the trigger in this deal. That's kind of the art of it, is figuring out, is this kid making his own decision? Is mom real involved, or is dad, or is it kind of a family deal? Are we looking to stay close, or are we looking to go far away, and things like that?
I know one of the things when I made my decision, once I went everywhere I went, but the first trip that I made to Clemson University, I knew that's where I wanted to be. It just had that atmosphere about it, even though I had grown up a Tar Heel fan. Mm-hmm. I think with the facilities that we have here tonight, when I came on campus, brought my wife in. She had not been here in a number of years, and we came in off of Highway 29 and came down, and you can see the stadium coming up between the two big classroom buildings, and then those classroom buildings will be the backdrop when you're sitting in the stadium. And that's got to be impressive. When you come down 29 and you can see campus, and you can see buildings and all this stuff that's going up and all the things that are being done, to me, the part of being able to set history is one thing, but you're going to make history right here. That's and right. Going to have excellent facilities to do it with.
That's right. And one of the fun things we got to do on Monday or Tuesday, I can't remember now, but we actually went down in the building. There's walls going up now, so you can actually go down there and take a kid and his family and stand in the weight room and in the locker room. And so that's an impressive view from down there looking out. It looks nice from up top. But when you're down in there, it gives you a real feel for what that's going to be like. And it's just as more walls go up and we start having recruiting visits on campus, and it's just the next step for guys to see how real it is and how nice it's going to be. Because I've told every kid out there, don't underestimate the power of being first. I mean, it's when we look back in 20, 30 years, we're going to look back at this first class. Who was the group that really bought in and said, I'm going to go be a part and build this thing and build it the right way. So that's a huge, huge selling point for us.
There's so many things, when you talk about business, you think about 50, 60 years ago, so many things got invented, and you were the first one to have something. There's not that many opportunities anymore, and there's not a lot of first-time football programs on this level being started up. So these opportunities are becoming fewer and fewer, so that's got to also be a drawing card.
It is, and especially, you have a program that's starting football, and then it just happens to want you as a player. What are the odds of all that happening? So kids are really taking a serious look at us and saying, I want to really make sure that this may be the place for me, and you want them to, like the experience you had, walk on campus and say, hey, this is where I'm going to school. And so that facility over there is a huge part of it. And it just is the next step in this university to me. We've got a beautiful student union, just everything that's going on this campus. I mean, it just kind of fits in. it's going to be a great atmosphere on a Saturday.
If you're not aware of it, when you come into campus and start to see everything that's here, it doesn't take long to kind of get overwhelmed.
Yeah,
there's a whole lot to this university that people don't realize.
That's correct, and that's why we encourage people all the time, whether they're fans or thinking about buying season tickets, all those things. We want them to come to campus and see this place because it's a unique opportunity, and it's a great atmosphere when you pull on campus.
All right, we're going to take a quick time out. We're glad you're here. We're at the Harris Alumni Center on the campus of the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, home of the Charlotte 49ers. And we'll be back with more Chalk Talk with Brad Lambert right after this. Chalk Talk. We're here at Harris Alumni Center on the campus of the University of North Carolina, Charlotte. Glad to have you along with us. And I'm here with Coach Brad Lambert, Coach Jeff Mullen. And I'm going to go ahead and get things started off right with you, Coach. I want to make sure that that you get equal time up here. I do have a few pointers I need to kind of bring up with you. Coach was telling me that y'all are in the process of selecting equipment. You're looking at helmets, you're looking at shoulder pads, and you're looking at footballs. And, you know, there's a lot of great footballs out there. There's Wilson and there's Nike and you know, all these manufacturers. And he said you're partial to Wilson, but he wasn't sure why, because he thought they all could be intercepted about as easy, whether they were Nike or Wilson or
a defensive guy, huh? They all intercept the same.
Are the Wilsons better? Did they not go to the other team as much, or how does that work?
It's easy to coach the
I'm a
quarterback.
lineman. See, I don't know. I don't know how that works.
You just got to tell the quarterback what color jersey you're wearing that day.
Is that it?
That's
okay.
it. Simple.
Well, I didn't know. Coach said that you were real, you know, kind of picky about that ball, and I just wanted to see if there was something in there that, you know, old linemen don't understand.
Got you, Coach.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No. If the truth be told, if you get the right quarterback, it doesn't matter what kind
there
of
you
ball
go. There you go.
You know.
And I know you're ready to get started.
I got headphones on now. I'm ready to start calling plays.
Well,
there we go.
You know, I told Coach when we finished that last show, I said, you know, I like those headphones on the field a little better than these up here. It kind of brings back those memories.
That's
but
right. Well, you're never wrong with these on.
No, and have you ever thrown them?
No.
I can't believe you've never thrown a pair of headphones.
The head coach has a couple times.
I can't believe that you haven't torn up any headphones.
No. Got to stay calm.
Okay.
Yeah. Next play.
So you know, here's the thing: wait till practice starts and watch this guy. Somehow, I don't think him and calm's going to collide much, except in a sentence. When they're on the field, I don't think that's going to happen a whole lot.
Just ask my wife. We're real calm.
That's right.
I bet she's ready for you to go.
Yeah. Someone asked her the other day, is it nice having Coach home? And she said, week 1. It was nice. It's now week 10, and it's time for him to go recruiting.
Yeah, it's time for him to go on the road.
That's right.
Been too much time at home. You talked a little bit at our last program before we went on the air about some of your philosophies. Tell us a little bit about what you expect from the offense, what you're looking for, the kind of athletes that you want to recruit in positions.
Well, we want to be a spread football team. I know that term takes on a lot of different definitions when you ask it to certain people, but our definition of a spread is to use the entire field, the entire width of the field, to spread you vertically as well. We want to be up tempo. We want to be no huddle. We want to get as many plays in a game as we can. You can't score unless you run and play. So we want to be as fast-paced and as up-tempo as we can. We're we're going to base our football team on running the ball as an option team, but we will throw it around a bunch. And we, through coach, we want to be balanced in all we do. And those are kind of kids you're trying to look for in those type of spots: athletic, fast, smart, tough. Those kind of things.
You talk about option football, and that's one of those things that sometimes people think, well, gosh, that's the kind of football they played 40 years ago. But if you listen and you follow college football today, there are very few colleges that still run an option type offense, Georgia Tech being one of them, Navy being one of them. And people talk about how hard it is to get teams prepped coming against an option football team because they don't see it a whole lot. It really puts the defense in a bind.
It does.
And it's going to add to the offensive firepower that you've got.
It does, but when you visually think of a Georgia Tech or Navy, that's not who we're going to be. We're going to base ourselves around those numbers, angles, and grasp principles of option, but we're going to be a shotgun football team. We're going to look a little bit more like Oregon, or a little bit more like a team that'll run option philosophy out of the shotgun, because what you still want to be able to do is throw the football. We do believe that throwing the forward pass is important, and our quarterback will be a thrower first. Who can also run, but he won't be a running back there and that kind of thing. So
I just hope that one of my favorite looks from that offense is to show option and throw to the flats, because you've really put the corner in a bind, because usually he's got some responsibilities on an option, and he's got to make a decision on what he's going to do when you put out there. I mean, it really puts defenses in a bind.
That's the best part about being a run-first football team is play action. Whether you're putting stress on a flat player or a deep safety or a linebacker in the middle. When you can put the football into the belly of a running back and demand respect from, certain defenders, you can tend to throw over their head as well.
And I think the biggest thing, especially from a defensive standpoint, is all the prep time. When you have the ability to do that, your prep time is so limited during the week, and all of a sudden if you have a team that can execute that, you've got to defend that part of it, and then they have the ability to throw the ball and get the ball down the field. It's a problem for you defensively.
Now, talking about prep time, here again, there's all kind of rules now. When I played, when you quit, when Coach got tired.
Yes, right.
And that's when
you
went in. And,
those were the good old days.
Yeah, that was the good old days. But now, tell us exactly what you've got. I mean, you've only got a limited amount of hours that you can have contact during the week during practice.
Yeah, it's a 20-hour rule, what they call the 20-hour rule, and you have to allot 3 hours of that for the game. So really you got 17 hours to meet with them, practice them, weight lift them. Anything you do organize as a team falls in that 17-hour period. So, the kids have to do a lot on their own, and they do. They understand the commitment that's involved, and they do a lot of film study on their own and things like that. But the advantage for us next fall, while we're just practicing, is we'll be under that 20-hour rule without the game. So we shouldn't have any issues, prepping guys and getting them ready to run our offense and, get them right and what we want to do and execute.
Now, when things get started, and you can allude to this too, you've got X amount of scholarships, X amount of walk-ons, and then when practice gets rolling next fall, you had talked about there will be some inter-squad scrimmages maybe on a Saturday to get folks out to see what's going on, see the progress that's being made.
Yeah, I think that's important for us to, be out there on a Saturday on our practice field and let our fans come out. We'll have open practices. Same thing we did under Coach Grove at Wake Forest. We're in the including business, not the excluding business. So we want people to come watch us practice and see how we operate and the things we do and how we treat the kids on the field and how we're, as I say, a lot of times we're going to be very demanding on the guys, but we're not going to be out there demeaning them. So we want people to come see, and I think it's important for us to be out there on a Saturday and say, hey, we're going to scrimmage at 11 o'clock, and everybody come out and see what we're all about and watch Coach Mullen, move the ball up and down the field.
Coach Mullen, when you talk about the different players and different positions, will you have positions that will be what I'd call interchangeable, whether it be from a receiver standpoint, whether you're going to be switching people from a wide to a slot, will you have a guy that can line up at a tight end, but yet he can split out or go into the slot? Because a lot of times teams are matching up by personnel, and then you put them in a different position that they're not used to. It kind of messes up and messes with the defensive line.
That's everything in college football. Excuse me. If you're going to be a tempo football team, you can't change personnel. The minute you run a different guy on the field, the umpire stands over the football and waits to let the bad guys match up.
See, that's wrong.
Now, well, that's how it is. But knowing that,
they try to make it too fair and to have too many rules now.
But knowing that, you want to have those hybrid players. You need a tight end that can split out and play wide out. You need that same personnel player that can be the second back in the backfield in a heavy set. You need a split receiver that can be another quick back as a two-back deal. So that you need those interchangeable parts if you're going to be a football team that plays with tempo and still, include multiple formation and motion and that kind of thing.
One of the things that I hear when people talk about the shotgun formation, will you have some offense that you can come under center so that if it's
absolutely,
if it's 6 inches for a first down, or you're inside to 1 or inside to 10 even, well, the thing that hurts you with the shotgun, you're already starting 5 yards deep, and you've shortened the field by getting inside the 10-yard line. You've got to have something to where you can vary up just a little bit.
You need football plays that make defenders run laterally, and you also need football plays that dent the defense, that can go right downhill, north and south at them. And if you're only one or the other, I think you can win a handful, but I don't think you can win them all. If you can only run it, you can win a handful, but you can't win them all. Same with the pass. I don't think if you ever jump full steam into one particular way to play is helpful long term. We will absolutely have football plays that get underneath center and go downhill.
I know one of the things when you showed the video at the first Chalk Talk that we had, you would show a look and you showed the setup that you have and the different personnel. You had almost a plethora of plays that you could run from that same look, so that you really couldn't be schemed by the way that you set up on the field. You could do different things. Just, back in the old days when people didn't cheat and they didn't blitz much and the defense didn't move a whole lot, you kind of knew what was coming by the way people lined up. But the way your offense works, you've got a lot of variation that you can do the same thing with the same basic look.
That's option football. You can option people throwing football vertically, and you can certainly option the people with the give, keep, or pitch. But the same numbers and angles and grasp philosophy, and I certainly can't get into a philosophical discussion about that, but the same philosophies that start the option process are what our offense is all about. And it can look different. It can be a 4 wide out set and 1 back deal, but you still better honor all 11 football players on every single play, or we're going to put the ball in the area where you're not.
How much readability, I guess is the best way to ask it, do you like to put with your quarterback? As far as, I know you'll have certain designated gives, but do you like to have that quarterback to where he can basically read and make the decision based on what the defense is doing at the time he meshes? Absolutely.
Again, going back to the basic fundamental of option football, of the give or the keep. But certainly depending upon the quarterback, his ability level, or he might be having a bad day. We can lock plays in and just turn around and hand it to the tailback as well, or just ask him to throw it down the field. So, we'll have the ability to do it all without confusing our kids, and certainly it will start with a kid who can make a mesh read.
He's Coach Jeff Mullen. One of the things I think you can say about Charlotte 49er football, it's going to be exciting to watch from the first time that we started. We're going to take a quick timeout. We'll come back with more. We're here at the Harris Alumni Center on the campus, UNC Charlotte. We'll be back with more on Chalk Talk right after this. Welcome back to the Harris Alumni Center. Second edition of Chalk Talk with Coach Brad Lambert. I'm Lanny Ford from ESPN 730, and we're glad to have you along. And glad the weather turned out a little bit. It was almost like a fall day today out there. Finally got a little crisp in the air. And we're glad to be here and glad to be a part of this program. Coach Bruce Tall is going to join us now, talk a little defense. You heard me talking with Coach Mullen about the offensive scheme, and being on the defensive side of the ball, you know what the option can do and the preparation that has to go into it. How do you address that as a defensive coach?
It's, the critical factor is really honing in with your guys on assignment football. It's, you can try to do as much scheming as you want, but until the guys understand their assignments first, that's the starting point, more so than any other, offense that you'll face. They do limit what you can call because of the option.
Don't you think that that's one of the hardest things that you have to teach today's player? And I'm not talking about just on this level, but I'm talking about all the way through, is play your assignment. They don't want to play their responsibility. They think they see something else instead of look at the big picture and understanding that if they do their job and everybody else does their job, there are no holes.
Right, exactly. You talk to, like with the front line, you always talk to them about gap integrity and really working to make sure they handle their responsibilities. But like you're saying, the guys feel like sometimes they want to make the play, so they believe what they're doing is better, and it's not part of the team concept to lose that. So you really got to hone in on that.
Sometimes they get caught up in the statistic side of things, and wanting to make a tackle or wanting to make a play, like you say, instead of everything will take care of itself if you do responsibility. You talk about the big boys up front. Right. Their responsibility is to do nothing more than to keep those guys in front of them off the next line so that they can make the play.
Exactly.
Because that's the way it really works.
Right.
I mean, the gap control that you're trying to do and trying to keep those guys down, defensively, you talk about a defensive end or an outside linebacker in your case, making sure that a tight end don't release clean. Put your hands on them. You got to do something to disrupt the movement. But how tough is it teaching these kids to play responsibility football?
Well, it's the starting point is fundamentals. If you really work on the fundamentals, and kind of talked a little bit about what you're saying, is you also want those guys to understand the big picture. So as you're teaching them their responsibilities, if you show how it all works together in the big picture, they start to see it a little bit more. Again, I know guys do get caught up in statistics, but if they do their job and they work at it, everybody will get a piece of the pie. It's just a matter of saying we'll do things where you'll get some excitement too. But if everybody takes care of each other, we'll be that much better.
One of the questions I asked Coach Mullen when he was up here, how important is interchangeability with your guys that are on the defensive side of the ball as far as you talked about it a little bit when you showed the blitz scheme and different things. You got to have somebody that can come up field. You got to have a guy that can drop back into coverage. Are those guys they're not really unique, but you've got some players that are going to be kind of interchangeable and not really 11 different guys that are on the field.
Right, yeah. It's you want guys that, we don't have to sub as much as in the days. The beauty of the defense we're running is that it limits your subbing, and so you can teach them, different techniques, certain techniques, and try to work from there. So it's I think the key is how we can move around and do things. We don't have to do a whole lot of adjusting with people.
Yeah, you alluded to earlier, you want to sub a lot, but that's so that you can keep the pace of play up to a fast level, not because you need to put a different person in there to be able to cover a certain responsibility or a situation. We were talking off the air, Coach, that in the NFL, they stand over the ball, they let everybody make all their changes, and then they let them play. And that takes away some of the advantage of having people that can make changes out on the field so that you kind of get an advantage.
It really is. The NFL, college football's evolved into so much chaos. Offenses creating chaos. Coach Mullen just talked about that being no huddle at the line. And the NFL is so different. There's no chaos during the game. And I think it'll make our defense much better, with our offense the way it is and practicing against that every day where you're always on the move. Your guys have to practice fast, and you can get a lot of work done in a shorter amount of time so you don't have to be out there all day. And I think it's really going to help our defense practicing against our offense. And ultimately that's what we want to do. We want to be good in all three phases. We don't want to be great in one and terrible. No, we want to be good at all three. That's how you win football games. And that's part of what you guys are talking about with a guy up front understanding what his role is. It's the same on the team. Our linebackers are really dependent on our offensive linemen. So you're teaching that throughout your team is, hey, look, handle your little world and do it really well. You'll be surprised what great things happen for you. And so I think defensively, running against our offense is really going to help us in that chaos, from a chaos standpoint of no huddle. And
one of the things that'll happen if these kids in high school have not been in a program where they've been graded out by position, they'll understand that when they get to this level and they're graded out for what they did, not the team as a whole, but what did you did as far as responsibilities are concerned. And they'll find out quickly when somebody gets in their ear that it's, you may have made that tackle, but you didn't do your job. If you had done your job, we would have made that tackle anyway. So it's important that they understand what their responsibilities are. And I guess that's where what I call personal coaching happens then, because then you start to break it down, and it's not about the game as a whole, but it's about that player individually.
There's no question. Yeah, we'll grade every player on his initial charge and his follow-through charge, and so he'll get a couple grades on every single play, so he'll know how he really played. I mean, he'll have a feeling of what he thinks he did if he looks at the stats, as you said. But then when he looks at it, it can break it down. He can have some stats, but maybe he didn't fit into the team concept as much. And there's no question, making plays is first and foremost too. I mean, I'm gonna want to know how many times he was a factor.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm gonna play the guys that make plays, but they got to play within the scheme.
That's right.
Because sometimes that will get you in trouble.
Right.
You may make a play this time, and then, I thought I could make that play again and didn't do your responsibility, and then it comes back to bite you.
Yeah.
Right. No
Hey, Lanny, I was going to ask Bruce one question. Coach, you're a veteran of a lot of different places in college football, and kind of talk to the people here and on the radio a little bit about how this whole startup thing's been for you. And, it's something that you and I had never been a part of it. You hadn't been a part of it. And, you've been at a lot of different levels, all the way from Division III football. You've been a coordinator in 1AA. You've been at Michigan, a lot of different places. And so how's it been, for you, in 6 months you've been here, kind of surprises, things that weren't for sure, anything that kind of jumps out at you as a startup?
It's been a real unique situation because you learn not to take anything for granted, and it's been a constant learning process, and so that's what's made it exciting, because it's, like I said, everything's new, and it's a continued learning process, and you try to incorporate things that you've done and waiting for it to all come into effect, and so there's that waiting part that makes you anxious.
Other than that, it's probably not a whole lot different than changing staffs and going to a new school.
Very simple. You're right on.
You want to bring in your kids because you've got kids that don't fit the scheme that you do. I know Coach Major and I talked about that. He's in his second year here as head basketball coach, and it makes a difference because you've got your way that you want to do things. And if this had been a program and they did run a Georgia Tech option, Coach Mullen would struggle a little bit with that because you don't have the kids in the places to do that. It would take some time to make that happen, to where you guys, from the time you take that first snap, you've been able to build it exactly like you want it.
Yeah,
you don't have to go back and fix anything, I guess is what I'm saying.
You're right. That's what's exciting, is you get to pick the guys now. Like you're saying, been in situations where you have to take what you have and try to until you can change it. Until you can change it. And here, it's our responsibility to get what we want. Yep. And so so it's all on us to make sure we get what we want.
Yeah.
Coach, go ahead.
Yeah, you get what you want, and then the other thing is Bruce has the opportunity to establish within the defense about how we're going to play, how hard what's going to be expected of you. That whole philosophy of making guys think you're playing with 12 on defense, and from day one you get to establish that on how we're taking the field and how we're going to chase the ball defensively, and that's a fun thing for me to be able to watch these guys work. Once we get on the field and establish that plan of how we're going to play this game, and we don't have a group of guys that have been here under another regime. Hey, they're our guys, and so we get to train them from day one.
Before we take our next time out, do you care what kind of football we play with? Does it matter? Okay, I just wanted to check. Like. So it's just Coach Mullen. Other than that, Coach Todd doesn't care what kind of ball we play with. So you get what you want. He said he's good with that. Let's take another time out. We're right here at the Harris Alumni Center. We're on the campus of the Charlotte 49ers talking 49er football. We'll be back with more right here on Chalk Talk with Brad Lambert right after this. Paying forward ESPN 730 for our second of what we hope is a whole bunch of Chalk Talks with Coach Brad Lambert. We're going to switch gears for just a little bit, mainly because Trevor wouldn't come up here. He's on the poster, but he wouldn't come be on the radio. And Coach C, women's basketball coach here for the Charlotte 49ers, and you're off to a good start this season.
Yeah, so far so good. 3-0. Just coming off a big road win at Virginia Tech last night in overtime. So,
what is it with you guys with overtime? Is this overtime week or something?
I guess. The funny thing is we talked in our pregame talk about the men's overtime win the night before and how they had toughed out a really hard win on the road and what kind of character it showed for our men. And then we went and did the same thing. I guess we wanted to be like them, but we'll take it. A win's a win.
I could tell that practice is going on now. The season's in swing. When I met Coach C at the media event, down on South Boulevard, her voice didn't quite sound like that. I got a feeling she's using it a lot more and probably a little bit louder than she was using it before then. The doubleheader Friday, I guess that was an exciting thing for both teams to be here last week.
That was incredible. I mean, just to see the support that we had at that game, the student support was incredible, and to have the fans in my first time in Halton Arena was pretty neat, and I know our girls really appreciated all the support. It was fun.
Yeah, Lanny, I've had a chance to go down and watch them practice a couple of times. Man, it's hard to sit over there. You want to jump in there and start coaching.
I'll bring you in.
She coaches my style. I like it. I really enjoy watching them practice. It's fun to, no matter what sport you're playing, football, basketball, it's just fun to go watch people work and interact with kids and how they teach them how to play hard, because ultimately, even in basketball, how hard the guys play and limiting turnovers, just like our game. There's a lot of similarities, and it's fun to go down and watch Coach C work and her staff and how hard they drive the girls.
It really, the sport doesn't matter. It's a game of teaching.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. That's what you do. You say coaching, but it's really teaching is what you're doing. You're trying to relate to them and get through to them on how to improve, whether you're talking about life skills, whether you're talking about positions, whether you're talking about different basketball, football skills, but you're teaching, and hopefully you're teaching something that's going to last past that practice.
You're absolutely right. You're teaching in every single way, and part of the challenge, which I love about coaching, is finding the best way to teach each young lady or each young man, whoever it is, and some learn in different ways, and you can't treat them all the same. You have to treat them all fair.
No, you don't have that generic style.
You can't always treat them all the same, and that's the biggest challenge. And when you can find a way to reach each person and see them grow both on the court and off the court, that's why I love to coach, and that's what makes it a lot of fun.
Lanny, we hit early on when we hired Kara. I knew we'd hit a home run because she's married to JP. We know JP's a football coach, so I'm like, she's in good shape. She got football at the house.
She already understands how it works.
She'll be okay. Yeah, she's in there with JP. He's over there tonight. I know he keeps her straight at the house. I know.
You better be careful, because these guys have got way too much time on their hands. You're gonna have assistants going down there sitting on the bench. Can I help? Let me blow the whistle one time. I hadn't blown a whistle in over a year.
I just want to get on the ref one time, Lanny. Because
that's a great idea.
They can really hear you in a basketball arena. So I'm like, wow, these officials, man. Whew.
I might get fined.
I was going to say, now, are you telling me that an official doesn't hear you when you're on the football field?
One of them does. That guy on your sideline. You can't get to the guy you need to get to.
Yes, you do. Let me tell you how you do that.
How's that, Lanny?
Give me a timeout. Come here. In the white hat. Come here.
That's right. That's right.
That was the biggest use that I had when I was still coaching of timeouts. That was the greatest timeout that I'd have. Somebody I need to have a word with, and they won't come talk to you. They'll make you take a timeout if you need to discuss something with you.
But, Karen, they can get to them quick.
Oh, yeah.
They can get to them quick.
Oh, it's nice. You can get them when they're running right by you.
Yeah.
I've done that, too, and they've sometimes had a present for me when they left, too. Yeah.
Sometimes they just keep running.
Yes, they do. Yeah. But if you get their attention, they might stop, and what they have to say to you might want to hear.
Yeah.
Coach, we wish you luck, and I know that we'll be talking again on the air as we do 49er updates every Tuesday and Thursday at 5:15. We take a look at what's going on with the Charlotte 49ers in all sports. We concentrate more, I do on Thursdays with football and basketball as we change, but I'll have you on. And then we do all sports, whether we're talking about volleyball, whether we're talking about soccer, whatever it is. We want to be part and make sure that people know what's going on here on campus.
Well, I'll say, Lanny, just one thing before I go. Thanks for having me on, and that's one thing that's really impressed me about this university. Obviously, basketball is great, and we're all excited about football, but the support of all the sports has been really impressive. It's a special place.
All right, we'll take one more final timeout. We'll come back. We'll wrap it up right here on Chalk Talk. Coach Brad Lambert, we're live at the Harris Alumni Center, campus, University of North Carolina, Charlotte. We're back in a moment. Welcome back to the Harris Alumni Center on the campus of the Charlotte 49ers. Lanny Ford here along with ESPN, 7:30. Coach Brad Lambert. And we're in our second edition of Chalk Talk with Coach Brad Lambert. I'm joined now, and John, you'll have to give me your official title, John Snellshire.
I am the Interim Director of Alumni Affairs.
And we wanted John to come up here. Tell us from the alumni perspective how important and how excited the Alumni Association is about bringing football on campus.
Well, when you think about it, especially from a homecoming perspective, now we'll have an opportunity to bring homecoming to the fall. We'll have 6 great weekends, 6 great Saturdays where we get to bring people back to campus. And a lot of people hadn't been back in a long time, and so it's such a beautiful campus. And there isn't anything better than, grilling out and having a good time on the backfield. So we look forward to that. And
there'll be a whole lot of folks that graduated a number of years ago that never thought that they would see this day. And to be able to have that homecoming out on the football field, it's got to be a whole lot of excitement for the alumni here at Charlotte.
We had the groundbreaking ceremony back in April, and there were some Ellison Clary, I'll call him out specifically, but it was so neat. And watching him walk around, his eyes were this big, and he was just so excited about the fact that we were breaking ground that day.
Yeah, no question. And one of the things for me going to a lot of different events is a lot of alumni come up to me and say, we've been waiting for football for 30 years, for 20 years, whatever that number is. And that's, I've gotten that a lot, and so I know people are genuinely, from an alumni standpoint, are excited about coming out. And we just want to create a great atmosphere on Saturday and put a team on the field where when they leave that stadium, they're like, I can't wait to come back and watch those guys play again, and that's what we're charged as coaches. But I think our alumni base it's been a lot of fun for me to hear that excitement. And, hey, we've been waiting for football for X amount of years, but you get all ranges, man. It's exciting.
And that's one of the things that, just like when you sell it to the players, that first game, when that first game gets started, the excitement. I don't think there'll be a person that's anywhere around that won't have goosebumps as that whistle blows to get that first kickoff. I mean, because that's going to be so huge that it finally is here.
Yeah, no question. Alumni will be fine. I worry about the coaches and the players hyperventilating in pregame warm-up. But I don't know how we'll be after 2 years of waiting around, but it's going to be interesting. Alumni will be excited, that's for sure.
We'll be right there with you.
Yeah, I think you'll have some crowds out there for those inter-squad scrimmages and for the spring game stuff that you'll think it's a game environment.
Yeah, no question. That's what we want to do. We've been working with John, setting things like this up, and we had the Greek reunion just about a month or so ago and different events. And we want to work with our Alumni Association and have that in the next fall, where we do have some scrimmages on Saturday and get guys out and put on a nice scrimmage and everybody can grill out and kind of get a feel for what it's going to be like.
Well, I know we have been excited, and John does a great job here, and we're glad to have the association that we have and to use this fine facility. And he said it doesn't get used nearly enough, and we'll be glad to come over and help however we can, because it's too fine a facility not to be using on a regular basis. And we just appreciate the hospitality.
Sure. Thank you.
All right, John, we appreciate it. Thank you, sir. And, Coach, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions before we wind up. We've got a few minutes left. There's a question that came from someone here in the audience. It says, Coach Lambert, do you expect to have a winning record the first season? If you're not, how will you be prepared to address?
Well, I think one of the big things that we'll start from day one since we've been here is one of the things we had to go through at Wake Forest when we went there was changing the mentality where you expect to be good and we expect to do well. From the day we walked on this campus, our coaches, we expect to recruit good players and we expect to do well. I expect us to do well that first year and win more games than we lose. That's our focus when we go out there. And we need to set an expectation level for our players where they don't accept anything but the best. And I think if we start there and we develop the relationships that we need to develop, between our players, I think if we do hit bumps in the road, now they know as they've kind of worked extremely hard side by side with these guys, they can hold on to them and trust each other and work through hard times because there will be. Nobody wins every game, but I think when you develop those relationships between players where they know that they've been with that guy in the weight room when it was, it was just a grind time and it was nobody wanted to be in there and we're pushing and everybody's pushing and pushing together and pushing each other and those are the things that get you through those hard times, understanding that hey, I can really count on that guy next to me but our expectation is high. We expect to do well in everything we do, from academics to how we play on the field. We're going to expect our guys to graduate. So I think that's the beauty for what we get to do is we get to set that expectation level from day one. We don't have current players. We don't have them talking about how maybe somebody else did it. And that was part of what we had to change at Wake Forest, was change that mentality and say, hey, guys, they're not going to just give you something for nothing. We not expect to do well and win games and go out and do it.
When you are game planning and you're planning for the next week, do you have do you set goals or expectations? For example, Coach Mullen may say, we need to get X amount of yards rushing and X amount of yards passing to win. We need to, from a defensive side, we need, depending upon what type of offense they run, we need to hold them under such and such yards for rushing and such passing, because based on statistics, if we can do that, we can win the football game.
Yeah, no question. We don't necessarily take it down to yards. I think the big stats for us are turnover margin. That involves all three phases of the game. Are we taking care of the ball offensively? Are we taking the ball away defensively? And how are we affecting that in a kicking game situation? Are we turning the field over? Are we getting good returns? Are we creating turnovers, on the punt team? Things like that. So turnover margin's huge for us. And then the next thing for us is, we want to, where are we scoring defense and where are we scoring offense? How are we doing, when it really gets down? Are we forcing field goals defensively? Are we punching it on in there offensively when we get that opportunity? And I think if our whole goal of, hey, we want to be good in all three phases, and they all complement each other. And I think each week when you really emphasize big plays in the kicking game, big plays in the offense, and how that set our defense up, this big play defensively set our offense up in a good spot to score, and we might score defensively. You might score in a kicking game. That helps your scoring offense and taking care of the ball. Turnover margin and those scoring zones are real big to us, and that'll be our focus throughout the week.
So that's the kind of the way that you'll game plan, and you'll have responsibilities, I'm assuming, for each side of the ball, and then you've got to have players that's going to step up and do that also. Yeah,
no question. I mean, you're always you're going to have leaders on your football team no matter what. I mean, your deal is you got to make good leaders out of them and not bad. So you're going to have leaders on your football team. We got to develop good leadership.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for the second edition of Chalk Talk right here at the Harris Alumni Center on the campus. Looking for a long relationship here with the folks in Charlotte. My thanks to Coach Brad Lambert. John, thank you. Coach C, Coach Mullen, Coach Tall. We thank all of our guests. We thank all you folks that turned out tonight to make this event a success. We'll be teeing it up again Saturday at 11:30 as airtime, as the Charlotte 49er men will be in Beaumont, Texas to take on Lamar. Only thing I can say, I'm glad it's them and not me. I hadn't lost anything in Texas that I know of. You folks drive safely and have a good evening and good night from the Harris Alumni Center here in Charlotte.